want you to focus on right now are these two equations right here. Okay? And I want you to see that we're going to get rid of the C's. Alright? What should we do to get rid of the C's? Any thoughts? Alright, we're going to do elimination, right? We should multiply one of the equations by -1. Which one would you like? Bottom one? Alright. We're going to multiply that by -1. Thank you for copying this down. Next, -6b plus 4c equals -38. And the top equation we're going to leave alone. Now add the two equations together. Add the two equations together. So if we add these two together, what do we get? Okay, now, folks, this is the part that's a little bit confusing to some of you. Those are not like variables, are they? So we just have 8a minus 6b, as you were saying. Yes. These cancel out, leaving me equal to what? Negative what? -18. That is true. I'm going to circle these two equations in orange. This one and this one are now going to be put together. Which variable? Look at the two that are highlighted in the orange boxes. Which variable do you want to get rid of? A or B? A would be an excellent choice. But if you're going to do that, what should you multiply the first equation that's up here by? -2. And I'm going to write that underneath here. -8a minus 14b equals -42. Now, folks, if you see that I make a mistake as we go through this, please correct me. Because if we make a mistake with our calculations, it's going to mess up what we do later. I do not believe that this material is super, super difficult, but there are lots of little places to make mistakes. And you make one little mistake and it ruins things, which is it's very important that you show your work so you can get all the partial credit possible. So now you should probably combine, better lock it in place. Combine what's in the green box. Combine the two equations in the green box. And I'll come around and check your work. Okay. When you added them together, how many B's did you get? -20b equals -60, and then you divide it by -20, right? And divide it by -20, and you got B to be 3, hopefully. What did you find next? What did you find next? Did you find A or C? Does it matter? It does not in this case. Now the next question we're going to work on, it is going to matter. There's only one thing you can do next. But in this case, you could choose either A or C. Now, anybody got a favorite equation they'd like me to plug this B back into? The top one? Alright. 4a plus 7 times 3 equals 21. When you take away 21 from both sides, you end up with 4a equals 0. The only way that can possibly happen is if a is equal to what number? A is actually equal to 0. Okay, so how do we find C? Which equation do you want to use to find C? It's -5. Oh, how do you know that? Do we have a favorite equation we'd like to use for that? Okay, since you're not picking a favorite equation, I'll pick one. It doesn't really matter as long as it has what? It has to have C in it. If we don't have C in it, like I can't choose that top equation again because it has A and B. You can't get no C if you don't have a C. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so 8 times 0 minus 4 times C equals 20. Whoa. So we know that's gone. We divide by -4. Is it true, as somebody suggested, that C was equal to -5? Is that true or false? It is true. So what's the answer to my question? What's the answer to my question? Where do these three? 0, 3, -5. It is important that you get the order correct. Remember I told you alphabetical order, A, B, C, in this case. Okay? Make sure you're taking good notes. Even if you like to use colors, that's fine too. Okay, next question. I'm going to ask you to focus your attention right here. Why do you think I'm asking you to focus your attention right there? We want to get rid of x from those two equations. Why do we want to get rid of x from those two equations? The answer is in the bottom row. What is it? There is no x in the bottom row. So what should you multiply this middle equation by so that you can multiply by -5? So the top equation is going to be left alone. 5x minus 2y plus 7z. Well, in bracket. Let's get the erase. And that one's going to be -5x minus 20y. Man, they're like fritzing out here. It's weird. No pun intended there. It's just like blinking a lot. It's kind of weird. Okay, what do we get when we add these equations together? Maybe I should write it under here. Add those two equations together. What do we get for the y's? -20 what y's? -22 y's. What's 7z minus 5z? 2z. Or maybe not 2z. That is the question. 13 minus 55. 13, take away 55. It's got to be a negative number. -42. Okay, folks, you're going to be focusing your attention on the two equations that are now highlighted in the purple box. Eliminate. Eliminate. Which variable would be the easiest to get rid of out of those two choices? Z. I agree with you. I would suggest that you multiply that top row by 2. Multiply that top row by 2 to help you do the elimination. So 2 times -2z, or -z, those z's are going to cancel out. So I don't have to worry about those, but 2 times 7 is 14. What is 14 minus 42? 14 minus 42. Isn't that -28? So what do we do to find the value of y? Divide by negative 14, and we ended up with a y value of positive 2. Where does that go in my answer blank? Is that the left, the middle, or the right? Left, middle, or right? It is the middle value. So we know the middle value of our answer is 2. If you accidentally made that negative 2, would that mess up the rest of this problem? Yes, it would. Be careful. If you do make that mistake, just keep going. Now, I do promise to you right now. I hereby I shall not be easily and make fractional or decimal answers. Unless there's something like, it's like 2.5. Okay, that's reasonable. 9 over 17, not reasonable. I'm not going to be trying to trick you with ugly fractions. I'm trying, most of them, to be integers. Negative 5, 3, 7, 0. Those kind of things. So I don't want you, if you do make a mistake and come up with some ugly looking numbers, there's probably a mistake in your work that you need to go back and find. Okay, so we got y to be 2. What are we going to do to find? What's the next letter that we can actually find? Yes, there is only one answer. I know in the first question that we did a few minutes ago, you could pick any one of the previous letters to find. That is not true here. What are you going to do next? Which letter should we find next? Z. That is your only choice. And you have to do it from one of these equations that's in the purple box. So, 4 times 2, yes, stopping it would be a good idea. 4 times 2 minus z equals 7. So we should probably subtract. How much are we going to subtract from both sides? How much are we going to subtract from both sides from that top equation in blue? How about 8? Yes, thank you very much. Alright, so take away 8. Negative z equals negative 1. Anybody know what z equals? 1. Where does that go in my answer? All the way to the right. So we know that the z is 1. How do we find the x? Yes, sir. Pick your favorite equation. Do you have a favorite equation that I can use from the very beginning? The middle one's a great choice because I see in that middle equation that x is by itself. I like that choice. Sometimes you don't get nice choices like that, but we did. Yes, haha. What is 4 times 2 plus 1? 9. It's true. Whoa. Is 9 a big number? Okay. Alright. And if we subtract 9 to the other side, we find out that x is something smaller than 11, folks. 2. Good job. So now we have our last part of our answer to that question. Lots of little places to make mistakes. And yes, I know we need practice. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion that you stay with me on this. You could choose any variable to get rid of. I'm going to ask you to choose between y and z. Mr. McAllister, do you have a favorite between y and z? He suggested that we go with z. Alright? Now, what's the common number between 1, 3, and 2 if I'm going to use the z column? 1, 3, and 2. What's a common number? What's the least common multiple between 1, 3, and 2? 6. So we want to make all of these either equal to 6 or negative 6. So right now, I'm going to choose to multiply this one by 6, this one by 2, and this one by 3, and I'm going to rewrite those 3 equations over here. And I suggest you do the same thing. If you've already done this question and you decided to go with the y's, it's okay. If you went with the x's, it's okay. You probably got bigger numbers if you went with the x's, but 30x minus 6y plus 6z equals negative 183. Did I do anything wrong? Look at my first equation and tell me if I did anything wrong. 30x minus 6y plus 6z equals negative 183. Tell me if I did anything wrong. Please. Come on. Before I go on, tell me if I did anything wrong. Please tell me you see my mistake. Come on, look through that line and tell me what's wrong. Okay, we're not even to that point yet. I'm looking at this equation and I want you to analyze it and tell me what my mistake is. Because remember, I said, if you make a mistake and you start the problem, you're going to ruin the whole thing. It's supposed to be negative 186. I made a mistake when I did my multiplication on the very last number. Now, guess what? I made the same mistake first period. But at that time, I did it on accident. And guess what? We started to work the question out. And I got a fractional answer. That's how I knew I was wrong. Because I wasn't trying to design a problem that had fractional answers. So I knew I had made a mistake. So don't make those kind of mistakes as you're working through these if you can possibly help it, because it will make your life miserable. Now, for those of you who are working with me, I'm going to suggest you add the two equations in the red box, and I'm going to suggest you also add the two equations in the purple box. Add the two equations in the red box, add the two equations in the purple box, and tell me, and then let's look at what we get. Freeze it on the screen and we'll see if you and I get the same result. You got this, 38x minus 2y equals negative 162 for the red box. Red box. That's great. I love getting my movies from there. So, purple box, right? 11x minus 5y equals negative 69. Any differences or things we need to, did we make any mistakes there? Did you agree? Did you disagree? I want to get rid of the y's. So what should I multiply the top equation by? 5. Okay, if I do that by 5, I'm going to do this one by negative 2. The reason being is I'm trying to get them to be either 10y or negative 10y so that we can add them together and get rid of them. So I'm going to probably grab my calculator. It's 38 times 5 off the top of my head. I can do it, but I just don't feel like it. We have 190x. Yeah, breathing's good. It's good. So all I'm doing is distributing the 5 all the way through. 5 times negative 162 is negative 810. Distribute this. 22x plus 10y. What's the question? Add them together and see if you can eliminate. Add them together and see if you can eliminate. Is who okay? Hopefully you got negative 4 for x. When you added them together, hopefully you got 168x equals negative 672. And then you divide it by the 168 and got negative 4. What are you going to do next? No, that makes no sense. Can't. What variable do I get to, can I solve for next? Y or Z? Y, thank you very much. Go back to one of your equations that just involves x and y. Right there would be a good one. Times negative 4 minus 5y equals negative 69, and then we can add 44 to both sides. Negative 5y equals, looks like negative 25. So what are we getting for y? Positive 5. What are we going to do to find that? To find z? Is there an equation that would be easier to find z? The top one, that's right. If we go way back to the beginning and pick that first equation that we were dealing with, 5 times negative 4 minus 5 plus z equals negative 31. What is 5 times negative 4 minus 5? Okay. Duly noted in the record. 5 times negative 4 minus 5. I'll give you a hint. It's lower than negative 20. What? Negative 25, that's true. So let's see here. If we want to move it to the other side, we have to add 25 to both sides, giving me z equals what? Is there a question on that? Z equals what? That's a really weird looking Z. Negative 6. So what's the answer to my question? Negative 4, good. Negative 4. 5. Negative 6, good. I'm going to find one more for us to practice with, and you can write this on the back when I find it for us. Which two equations should you be focusing on first? Which two equations should you be focusing on first? Second and third. That's right. You should be focusing your attention down here. Which variable should you be eliminating? C. Eliminate the C's. Let's see if you and I agree. I multiplied the third equation by negative 1 and then added them together, and I came up with something like this. You multiplied the other one by negative 1 and added them together. Yours looks almost like that, but yours is still correct. That's why I said yes to you. I knew that mine was going to look a little bit different than yours, but they're still the same, so we're good. We're good. If you had negative 8a plus 6b equals positive 2, you are still correct. That person probably multiplied the second equation by negative 1 and then added them together. It's all right. Now, what are we going to do with? This equation and this equation. This one and this one. Okay. I like the idea of multiplying this one by negative 2, which would make it negative 8a. You're probably going to multiply it by positive 2, aren't you? So that you get to be opposites. Minus 14b equals 102. And now I'm going to add the two equations together. Of course, those are going to get eliminated. Negative 14b minus 6b would be negative 20b. And 102 minus 2 is 100. What do we get for b? What do we get for choice B, letter B? I got to vote for negative 5. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, but we have a positive divided by a negative, so it does end up being a negative. Okay, and if that's not coming up the same way for you, I'll take a look at it and see if I can help. Okay. Which variable do we want to find next? Is there a choice, or am I locked into only one choice? Can I pick A or C, or is there only one thing I can find? If I pick the first equation, can I find A? If I pick the last equation, can I find B? Or, I'm sorry, C. Yeah, you have choices here. Okay, and obviously we're running out of time. I've seen your notes today. But you do have choices on how you would finish this question.